here's where we'll tie it in. This is a conversation really quickly on the importance of getting your compact tractor with skid steer quick attach, or if you're going to buy John Deere quick attach, doesn't matter. As you can see, there's 3 different tools here that all go on the front of my tractor. I also have a hydraulic post hole digger, which is absolutely excellent. We have pallet forks, which are just incredible. A digging bucket, obviously, you know what that is, and a set of, these are called a rake grapple, as opposed to a root grapple. A root grapple has fingers that come way farther out and it lets you dig down and get underneath things. The problem is it weighs a lot more. I can kind of, manhandle this thing around. I'm sure it weighs a couple 100 pounds at least, probably 280, 250, probably a decent amount of weight. The root grapples are far heavier. The other thing is that these do a better job of literally what it says in the thing, raking. What I'm going to probably do is put these on first, and I'm going to go back and we're going to clear a whole bunch of ground so that when I bring the brush mower back there, we don't accidentally hit a down tree or whatever, or, small stumps and things like that. Hopefully we can dig out some of the stumps. If I would have had more clairvoyancy, I would have also brought the stump bucket that I have for this, which also goes on skid steer quick attach. That can come up next time because that I can pick up and put in the back of my pickup. It is a very nice little tool, and it would be absolutely impeccable up here. I wish I would have thought about that. So make sure when you're buying a new tractor, you get that up front and have your dealer install a true third function valve. That way you can run the grapple. You can also get, which I think would be really useful for a lot of different things, is a grapple attachment for your pallet forks. And the beauty of that is this is horrible it's not horrible, but it's not as good as, say, a root grapple at picking up more bulk items, like a whole bunch of logs. Like if you had a whole bunch of 8-foot, 6-foot sections and you want to pick up 3 or 4 or 5 at a time, you can do it. It's just that you might have to come down on top of it and really get a good bite on it, whatever. These, you skirt underneath it, and then you could have a top come down or 2 tops come down and hold everything in there so you have a flat base to use with your pallet forks. The other amazing thing about your pallet forks is that it allows you to use your tractor to organize your attachments. Even if you're not big into having, I just recommend anywhere that any amount of land get a grapple. It is the most useful tool that I can think of. But let's just say you mostly want to use your tractor for finish mowing, brush mowing, tilling, and maybe you had some other types of 3-point attachments, whatever. Having a set of pallet forks allows you to organize and move fairly annoying items. Instead of having to hook them up all the time to your 3-point just to move them around or organize them, you can put all of them on a pallet, which gets them on off the ground. Then you can organize them with your pallet forks. And if you have a trailer, you can load everything right on the side of the trailer from the sides with a pallet fork, drive the tractor on, strap everything down, you're good to go. So I highly recommend a set of pallet forks for a compact tractor. This tractor has loaded rear tires, which is incredibly important. I commonly don't have an implement on the back of this when I'm doing a lot of things, just because it's an extra bit of weight. With the loaded tires, it counterbalances basically everything you want to do within reason. In general, you can't do more with this than just the loaded tires can do. Caveat, lifting up high. The higher you go, the more moment you have to tip the tractor over. Be very careful when you're lifting up more than basically 4 feet. 4 feet is a good, safe number where you can be a little bit more risky and expect that the tractor is not going to do crazy things. When you get above 4 feet, things happen extremely fast, and any uneven bump with a load that high can easily destabilize the tractor. You see how there's just the slightest amount of topography here? There's a little washout. Oops, my hand got out of the picture right there, right in through here. If you had a really heavy load up over 4 feet and you went over that, you definitely would have a pucker factor, and you may want to definitely have something heavy on the back of your tractor. They make weight boxes. I would prefer to not pay money for a heavy thing when I can just put a useful heavy thing on the back of my tractor, but it is entirely up to you. I've seen some really interesting tool boxes for 3-point tractors. So basically they're a weight box, but then they're a locker. They have maybe chainsaw scabbards. They have different types of shovel handle holders, axe holder, things like that. Just a tool bucket that goes on the back of your tractor. I've seen some really light duty ones that have casters and stuff, but I'd be really worried about bottoming out the rear of the tractor and ripping the casters off or backing into something and crushing it. But a heavy duty one that isn't just, you're just chucking rocks in it, maybe that has a locker that you can put stuff in. Maybe it's made out of heavy material, so it's still pretty heavy. And then you can now also use it to bring things around. Maybe it has a trailer hitch on it, so you can also use it to move stuff. Maybe a drawbar would be a nice thing if you are going to move hay wagons with this and you don't want to use the actual drawbar in the tractor. Instead of having to switch all the time to something else, you could have a drawbar on it or something. A pintle, things like that. Definitely recommend counterbalance when you're using stuff like this, but it is definitely not a lame duck. And even a smaller tractor with pallet forks is still incredibly capable if you're just getting deliveries of seed or sod. And sod, be careful, because sod is of course very, very heavy. If you have a heaping 4-foot pallet of sod, this should pick it up, but it's only going to safely maybe be a couple feet off the ground. And you can do a lot with a couple feet off the ground, just enough to get it up and get it moving. And even 6 inches, I mean, all you got to do is have it off the ground. You can do a lot of work with that. Avoid extreme height lifting with unstable objects because it can get really, really scary. But even if you got a small tractor, an LX, a BX with pallet forks is just going to be so handy. Maybe you're not going to be able to pick up like a crazy amount, but think about your garden tractor size thing that now can move pallets around, palletized goods, of whether you bought topsoil or lime or fertilizer or, like I said, seed. If you're doing maybe a whole yard redo, landscaping, the tile things or the bricks, or a whole 4-foot tall pallet of bricks. I'm not going to move it with the BX, but, and I don't know if I've never moved a whole pallet of bricks. I don't think you're going to move it with this. It's going to take a L60 to move that much, or maybe even an MX, like a full 4-foot tall pallet of bricks. That's a lot of weight. But if you had a more reasonable height of bricks, like if you bought pavers and you had like 2.5 foot of pavers for your garden, yeah, all day long, you're going to be able to move that easily with this. This is an L3902. I highly recommend it to a lot of people. If you don't need to have the PTO power, and really what that comes down to is if you're going to run a brush mulcher on the back of your tractor, like one of those Felcons or something like that. I think Woodman Mills has them too. Maybe not. But those ones where you're either backing over top of stuff or you're doing heavy mulching, or like a 7-foot or 6-foot brush mower that you're going to, like a brush hog that you're really going to decimate stuff, you can do really tall grasses. I mean, this tractor doesn't even sneeze at, that tall grass. If you had a whole field of that, this thing won't even sneeze at it. It's not even a problem. And neither will a 25-horse tractor. The L3902 is, I think, one of the finest options for someone who just owns land. Say this property right here. It's 13 or so acres of a place that I might use a tiller for food plots, a loader for leveling ground or fixing drainage problems or washouts or driveway work or whatever, pulling a driveway plane, a box blade, things like that. Perhaps a rear finish mower if you wanted to, crank out the lawn instead of having to spend so much time doing lawn that isn't even that good. I mean, most of this is weed anyway, so it's not like you need to have this thing golf horse smooth. I sure as heck don't care about that. Just to keep it down for the ticks and things like that. Maybe make skeeters less happy to be in it. Definitely 2502 is no joke. I would love to own one of those specifically for this property, and it would for sure have a skid steer quick attach to third function valve. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. We kind of tied it in a little bit here with all the stuff, and I think that's an important thing to talk about is you got to tell your dealer, I want third function valve up front, and I want that skid steer quick attach up front. You will find a reason to get this. You're going to have an ice storm, you're going to have a windstorm, you're going to have a tornado come through, and I'm sorry for that. I don't want that to happen to you, but the utility here is absolutely maddening. Just using it as a rake is amazing. The finish that you get from this, and I'm sure we'll show it in the property here fairly readily, but I'm glad that I'm finally tackling this property with this tractor. I've done many of my friends' work and my own property work at other places with this tractor, and it's amazing what this relatively reasonable half-ton towable, as long as it's not on a really heavy dump trailer, like if you put this thing on a smaller equipment trailer, you easily move it around with a half-ton, especially an aluminum one, easily. This has such a lot of tongue load built into it. It may not be the best option. As you can see, it's empty, and my Super Booty is squatting a little bit, but that's just the way Super Booties are. They do that. Take care, everyone, and have a great day.